After the rich heiress fainted, she discovered she could hear everyone's thoughts. She looked at her first love, who was crying so hard he trembled, but all she heard were his complaints. Pretending to cry is so exhausting. Why hasn't Wanwan come to comfort me yet? If this were in the past, seeing me like this, she would have been heartbroken long ago. In the 5 years I've been out of the country, could she really have fallen for Mu Chen? I have to make her divorce Mu Chen immediately. The Lin family's son-in-law can only be me. I'm going to be the most powerful man in this city. Lin Wanwan's pupils shrank in shock. She couldn't believe these were Zhou Zimo's thoughts. In the 10+ years they had known each other, he had always acted as if he was indifferent to fame and fortune. She never thought his heart was so full of schemes. She felt this mind reading was too absurd. It had to be a hallucination from her head injury. But then, another thought rang out. Even if Wanwan and Mu Chen are married, her heart still belongs to me. All my efforts over these years weren't in vain. I absolutely cannot lose my composure now. As long as I'm back, no matter what I ask, Wanwan will do anything I say. Health, status, and her identity. Everything she has will be mine. Lin Wanwan squeezed her eyes shut. Zhou Zimo's greedy thoughts were crystal clear. It made it impossible for her to keep deceiving herself. The blood in her veins felt as if it had turned to ice. The man she had loved so deeply for years was scheming against her. Lin Wanwan's eyes flew open in anger. Her gaze was cold as she stared at Zhou Zimo. He was startled by this unfamiliar look. A trace of panic grew in his heart. He grabbed her arm and asked softly, "Wanwan, what's wrong?" Lin Wanwan ignored him. The unease in Zhou Zimo's heart grew stronger. Just as he was about to press further, the doctor interjected with a timely reminder. The patient needs to remain quiet. The family should be more mindful. The moment the doctor finished speaking, Wen Xiujun yanked Zhou Zimo's hand away. She threw it aside with a look of disgust. Zhou Zimo suppressed his displeasure and spoke gently. "Auntie Wen, I want to stay here and look after Wanwan." That moment, I calmly stepped forward, looked at him, and asked coldly, "By what right do you get to stay and care for her?" "I am Lin Wanwan's lawful husband. Taking care of my wife is my responsibility. What does an outsider like you think you're doing?" Although I had already decided to divorce her and completely escape this drama. Before we officially finalized the procedures, I had to vent the resentment from my past life. Zhou Zimo bit his lip, looking aggrieved, and turned to Lin Wanwan with a pitiful expression. From what I remembered, whenever Zhou Zimo put on this victim act, Lin Wanwan would never let the person bullying him off the hook. But this time, Lin Wanwan remained expressionless. She didn't even spare him a glance. Zhou Zimo nervously gripped the corner of his shirt. His eyes welled up with tears. "Wanwan." Lin Wanwan finally spoke her first words since waking up. "I need to rest quietly. All of you, please leave." She completely ignored Zhou Zimo's show of weakness. Mercilessly ordered them out. Zhou Zimo's face instantly turned pale. He couldn't understand why Lin Wanwan had become so cold. Before he got on the plane, he could clearly hear the anticipation in her voice. But now was clearly not the time to get to the bottom of it. Zhou Zimo wiped away his tears and forced a bitter smile. With a hint of sorrow in his eyes, he said, "Then you should rest well and recover. I'll come visit you again tomorrow." But in his heart, he was viciously plotting. It must have been while I was abroad that Mu Chen, that scheming man, took the opportunity to get ahead. I knew he was no good. He's been clinging to Sister Wanwan like a leech all day. It's honestly beyond repulsive. Sister Wanwan's husband can only be me. Only by successfully marrying into the Lin family can I finally wash away my humble origins. Lin Wanwan couldn't stand these scheming thoughts anymore. She bit her lip and growled, suppressing her rage. "Everyone, get out." Zhou Zimo sniffled, looking hurt and pathetic. He had no choice but to get up and leave the room, his back looking incredibly lonely and desolate. Wen Xiujun tucked the corner of the blanket for Lin Wanwan and said softly, "Wanwan, just rest easy in bed. Your father and I will be right outside guarding the door." Lin Wanwan nodded tiredly and closed her eyes. I wanted nothing more than to slip away right then. But just as I was about to turn around, Lin Wanwan suddenly opened her eyes. "You stay." I looked down, a mocking smile playing on my lips. I walked slowly toward the bed. Soon, only Lin Wanwan and I were left in the room. Without those noisy, calculating thoughts in her ears, Lin Wanwan's tense nerves finally relaxed. But that relaxation came at a price. An excruciating, piercing pain shot through her entire body. I looked at her with a flat expression and asked, "Does it hurt?" Lin Wanwan bit her lip without making a sound. I raised an eyebrow and sat on the chair by the bed. If anything feels wrong, it's better not to hide it from the doctor. Lin Wanwan's gaze was sharp, as if she were scrutinizing me. I kept a faint smile and said nothing, but in my head, I couldn't help but sigh. After all, we were husband and wife for 3 years. How could I not see through your little thoughts? Lin Wanwan frowned, her mind filled with confusion. Husband and wife for 3 years? Is he talking about us? But we literally just had our wedding yesterday. Do you want some water? Lin Wanwan gave a tiny nod. I stood up and walked over to the water dispenser. Staring at the flowing water, I gradually drifted into thought. I finally did it. I can face Lin Wanwan now without a single ripple of emotion. Does this mean I've finally let her go? Can I finally cast aside the chains of the past and try to embrace a brand new life? Honestly, now that I've calmed down and thought about it, no one in this world is truly irreplaceable. No love lasts forever without fading. It's time for me to start looking forward. I can't let my obsession with Lin Wanwan ruin this hard-won new life of mine. I reached out to turn off the water, then headed back to the bed with a cup and a cotton swab. You're in a tough spot right now and can't drink much. Let me use this swab to moisten your lips. She watched me with a calm gaze. Even though she found my inner thoughts bizarre, she could truly feel that I once loved her deeply. This completely shattered everything she thought she knew. She had always been convinced that I only married her because the Mew family had fallen from grace. That I just wanted to use the Lin family's power to climb the ladder. That there wasn't a shred of real love. Thinking of my social climbing parents, a flicker of disgust naturally crossed her eyes. She was certain a family like that couldn't raise anyone decent. But the reality now was a slap in the face. The man she believed loved her unconditionally was actually full of schemes and calculations behind her back. And the person she was so wary of, the one she thought was a schemer, actually loved her with his whole heart back then. How ironic. I set the cup on the nightstand and sat down. After a moment, I really didn't want to face her anymore. I'll go find a nurse to take care of you. Lin Wanwan's face darkened instantly. No, I'm not used to strangers hovering over me. My eyes widened slightly in surprise. I seriously wondered if she'd hit her head too hard. After a long silence, I sat back down. I've already talked it over with Auntie Wen. I'll be the one taking care of you until you're discharged. Once you're discharged from the hospital, we'll go file for divorce. After calmly saying those two words, my tense shoulders instantly relaxed, and I felt an unprecedented sense of relief in my heart. It was as if all the gloom from my past life had vanished. Lin Wanwan still wore that same expressionless face. The word, divorce, failed to stir the slightest ripple of emotion in her. I lowered my head and stared quietly at the hospital floor. A mocking smile quickly flashed in my eyes. I was so pitifully foolish back then. In my past life, I was naive enough to think that I could move her with sincerity and my unconditional companionship. She is a cold and heartless person to the core. The love she could spare was already scarce to begin with. And she had already given it all to Zhou Zimo. How could there be any extra feelings left for anyone else? Regarding her past life, Lin Wanwan gradually noticed something strange. It seemed I had experienced a future that others had not. This was completely beyond her scope of understanding. In the past, she would have absolutely scoffed at it, but now, having experienced it firsthand, she felt it wasn't impossible. She stared at me intently. We just had our wedding yesterday. Now you're so eager to get a divorce. Have you thought about the consequences, about what people will say? I kept my head down, not meeting her gaze, and missed the fleeting complex emotion on her face. We can choose to keep it a secret and not announce it for now. There's no such thing as a secret that can be kept forever. What on earth did she mean by that? I was the one who offered to divorce her and end our relationship. Shouldn't she be overjoyed and agree immediately? After all, she hates being forced to do things more than anything. Being forced to marry me disgusted her, which in turn made her resent me even more as a person. Closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to dispel the terrible memories in my mind. I looked up, completely baffled, and asked her, "Don't you want to divorce me right away?" Lin Wanwan averted her gaze, looking a bit unnatural. It's not that I don't want a divorce. It's just that it's not a good time right now, with all that's going on. It will cause trouble for my work and my life. I nodded in understanding. Okay, I understand your concerns. Lin Wanwan frowned in confusion. What on earth did he understand? She was desperate to know what I was thinking, but my heart was completely calm and still at this moment. Naturally, she couldn't get the answer she wanted. You should get some more sleep while you have the time. When you wake up, I'll go get you something to eat. I stood up. Lin Wanwan quickly asked, "Where are you going? Will I disturb you if I stay here?" I looked at her, my face full of surprise. Lin Wanwan coughed lightly and turned her head away. "You won't disturb me." If I wasn't mistaken, she seemed to be embarrassed. It was truly strange. Lin Wanwan's expression changed as she looked at me. It startled me. I tilted my head in deep confusion. What's wrong? She pressed her lips together tightly and said nothing. I calmly sat down and started looking at my phone. Lin Wanwan was injured and drained of energy. It wasn't long before she fell asleep. Seeing her, with that faint hint of hostility, made me feel very agitated. I got up and went to the restroom. After coming out of the restroom, I saw Zhou Zimo standing by the wall. I wasn't surprised to see him. Zhou Zimo was the first to speak. "Did you go snitching to Wanwan?" Whenever Zhou Zimo faced me, he never deigned to look me in the eye, as if he were always superior. There was always a look of contempt in his eyes. It was Lin Wanwan who gave him that confidence. I tossed my hair and said with a smile, "Why don't you take a guess?" Zhou Zimo was losing his composure a bit. "Miu Chen, you need to understand the situation. I don't want to make things ugly. Wanwan and I are childhood sweethearts. If it weren't for Grandpa Lin stopping us back then, and refusing to cancel this engagement, we'd probably be married by now. I stared straight into his furious eyes and said to him with a grin. So what? Who cares if you grew up together? In the end, I'm the one she married. No matter how jealous you are, it won't change a thing. All you can do is watch us be happy. In a way, aside from Joe Zemo himself, I was probably the person who knew him best. I knew exactly how to twist the knife. Sure enough, his breathing immediately grew shallow and heavy. Muchung, how dare you say that? You actually think Wanwan wants to be with you? You really have no self-awareness, do you? Wanwan loathes you in her heart. Are you really that stupid, or are you just pretending? Of course, I knew that. I had faced that reality a long time ago. When I first met Lin Wanwan, we were both just children. I thought she was so incredibly beautiful that I wanted to get close to her. But she was so cold and distant, radiating an aura that told everyone to stay away. I never dared to approach her, and we didn't see each other again after that. Until the year I finished my middle school exams, when Grandpa Lin invited me to their home. I found out she was my fiancé, and in that first bloom of youth, I fell head over heels for her. I also realized she didn't like me. In fact, she seemed to find me absolutely repulsive. Seeing me fall silent, Joe Zemo seemed to feel a sense of relief. He flashed a smug, victorious smile. Wanwan is ruthless to the people she hates. I'm telling you this for your own good. You should just hurry up and get a divorce. Otherwise, you're going to suffer later. Even though he just wanted us to split up. His words weren't wrong. I resisted the urge to nod and instead said dismissively, "Don't think too highly of yourself. You've been gone for 5 years after running off in a huff. People change, you know. Back there in the hospital room, you must have felt how cold she was. You're starting to panic now, aren't you?" The moment I said that, Joe Zemo's face went pale for a split second. How could he not be panicking? Lin Wanwan had never treated him with such indifference before. I watched him and sneered, "There's no wall that can't be broken down. I've put a lot of heart into this over the last 5 years. Where on earth do you get the confidence? To think she can't live without you and will hate me forever?" Joe Zemo opened his mouth to talk back, but he couldn't find a single word to say. Seeing him in such pain, I knew I had achieved my goal. He started to walk away. Wanwan has loved me for years, and I'm sure she'll love me for the rest of her life. I stopped and looked back over my shoulder. Well then, I'll be interested to see just how long that confidence of yours lasts. I'll make sure Wanwan leaves you. Joe Zemo shouted, his fists clenched tight. His face looked absolutely terrible. I just let out a cold, mocking laugh. I walked away without looking back. When I reached the door to Lin Wanwan's hospital room, I didn't go in right away. I remembered how Joe Zemo used to target me. He and Lin Wanwan used to team up to bully me, driving me into a state of deep despair. They put me through so much pain, I had to swallow so much bitterness back then. Now that I've been given a second chance, I'm certainly not going to let them off that easily. But how exactly should I strike back? Should I just confront them directly? It really wasn't a wise choice. Ruining my own life, heaven has given me a chance to start over. It wasn't so I could repeat the same mistakes, making them lose everything they have. Giving him a taste of his own medicine, and making him hit rock bottom completely. Let's not even talk about whether I have the ability. Even if I did, I'm afraid this life would be lived only for the sake of revenge. Besides this method of retaliation, there's actually another option, to destroy the relationship between them. But just thinking about that process is absolutely suffocating. Having to put on an act every day in front of someone like Xie Yan would be a horrifying ordeal. After thinking it over and over, it's better to just bury this resentment deep in my heart. I should cherish this second chance and start a whole new life for myself. It's much better to live a comfortable life. I convinced myself once again. With a blank expression, I pushed open the door and entered the hospital room. Lin Wanwan was asleep at the moment. I went to the washroom to quickly freshen up, then came out and lay down on the family recliner. I was preparing to get a good night's sleep. I had been busy all day and hadn't rested well. I slept especially soundly this time. When I woke up again, the sky outside was already completely dark. I picked up my phone and took a look. My mouth fell open in surprise. It was already 5 in the morning. "Did you rest well?" A woman's gentle voice sounded by my ear. I lifted my head and looked at her. "I feel all right." Lin Wanwan didn't say anything else. The room fell silent once again. "Are you hungry?" "My stomach is a bit hungry." The two of us spoke at almost the exact same time. After we finished, we fell silent again. A flash of annoyance crossed my face. I threw off the blanket and got out of bed. "I'll go get you something to eat. You can only have some kanji right now. You're not allowed to be picky when I bring it back." I had to make this clear beforehand. Otherwise, when I brought the kanji back, Lin Wanwan would just give me a sour look again. There was really no need for that. Lin Wanwan nodded faintly. I understood perfectly. I put on my shoes and walked towards the door. I opened the door, walked out, and saw Shu Jiaqi standing by the window. A smile appeared on my face without me realizing. "Assistant Shu, you're here." Shu Jiaqi was clearly stunned for a moment, then she lowered her head, looking a bit awkward. Hello, sir. I suddenly remembered, the Shu Jiaqi of this time doesn't know me yet. The smile on my face gradually faded. I felt a pang of regret. Shu Jiaqi is Lin Wanwan's assistant. Back then, after I married Lin Wanwan, I gradually became familiar with her. Shu Jiaqi was a very kind person who sympathized with me. She often took good care of me. I was incredibly grateful to her and had always wanted to find a chance to thank her. But now, starting over, I'm afraid I won't have the chance to be friends with her. I could only hide this gratitude in my heart. I gestured towards the hospital room with my arm. Wanwan is hungry. Shu Jiaqi nodded gently. I'll go get the kanji right away. After Shu Jiaqi turned and left, casually opened my phone and saw a message from Lu Zubai. How's Wanwan doing? Brother Chen, are you okay now? Lu Zubai has been a good friend of mine for many years. Now that I've been given a second chance, I've been holding back from contacting him, just fearing that once I do, my emotions will completely spiral out of control. Someone on the verge of a breakdown. Once they face a trusted friend, they'll drop all their defenses and instantly become incredibly vulnerable. Just like right now, my nose starts to sting, and I can't stop it. I take a deep, shaky breath. My fingers fly across the keyboard. Lin Wanwan is fine now. I'm doing well too. You don't need to worry about me. Let's talk more when I go to school tomorrow. You're actually going to school? You've finally come to your senses. I can feel his excitement even through the screen. Give a faint smile and don't reply any further. I was a medical student in university. If it wasn't to marry Wanwan, and dropping out at Wen Xiujun's demand, I would have eventually become a doctor. Leading a life that might not be flashy, but would definitely be meaningful and fulfilling. I shove my phone back into my pocket and lean against the cold wall, lost in thought. Shu Jiaqi comes back and sees me spacing out. She really doesn't want to disturb me. But fearing Lin Wanwan might be hungry and getting impatient, she walks over anyway. Mr. Mew, I've brought the porridge. I snap out of it instantly and take the thermal lunchbox from her. With a slight smile, I ask, was this sent over from home? It's porridge the madam made herself. It's been sitting over at the nurse station. She told me to bring it once the young mistress woke up. Shu Jiaqi speaks with a certain stiffness. She really sees me as Wanwan's husband. Thinking back to my time at the Lin family home, the only person who truly respected me and treated me like a normal human being was Shu Jiaqi, holding the thermal lunchbox in my hand. I'm in no rush to enter the room. Instead, I look at Shu Jiaqi and ask with concern, what time did you get here? Around 7 o'clock last night. Came over as soon as I finished everything. Then I'll take over from here. Go and get some good sleep. Faced with my sudden concern, Shu Jiaqi furrows her brow slightly, clearly feeling a bit uncomfortable. But she still says very respectfully, thank you for your kindness, sir. The old madam told me to stay here. I can't go rest just yet. I notice the look on her face and realize I'm putting pressure on her. I have no choice but to nod helplessly. Alright then, I'll head inside first. With that, I turn and enter the patient room. The door isn't very soundproof. Lin Wanwan, inside the room, could hear the conversation we just had. I push the door open and walk in. Lin Wanwan looks at me with a slight change in expression. I didn't notice it at the time. I walk over, set the lunchbox on the nightstand, open the lid, and pour the porridge into a bowl. Then I sit down calmly on the chair, preparing to feed Lin Wanwan the porridge. I hold the spoon to her lips, but she keeps her mouth shut tight, refusing to open up. My eyes fill with confusion. Don't you want to eat? You knew Shu Jiaqi from before? Lin Wanwan's gaze flickers slightly. I press my lips together gently, then answer with a natural expression. No, we don't know each other. Lin Wanwan's sharp eyes narrow slightly, looking like a storm is brewing. Whenever she has that look on her face, I knew this feeling all too well. I put the spoon back in my bowl. I asked in a flat tone, what is it about her that you don't like? I really couldn't be bothered to wait on her. Lin Wanwan opened her mouth slightly, then shut it tightly again. She knew that if she spoke her mind, I would absolutely put down the bowl and walk out, without a single glance back. Until she understood what was happening, she didn't want me to slip from her control. Are you going to eat or not? Seeing that Lin Wanwan remained silent, I was gradually growing impatient. Lin Wanwan had never been spoken to like that before. Her expression immediately turned nasty, but she took a deep breath and continued to eat. She was clearly starving. One bowl was barely enough to line her stomach. Seeing that she seemed to want to keep eating, I immediately put down the bowl in my hand. I said in an even tone, you can't eat too much right now. Lin Wanwan wasn't a child, after all, since I had already spoken so plainly. She could only accept it for the time being. I packed up the thermal lunchbox, and carrying it, I walked out of the room and casually handed it to Shu Jiaqi. When I returned, I saw it was almost 6 o'clock. I slowly walked back to the side of the hospital bed. I tucked the corner of Lin Wanwan's blanket in tightly, then said to her with a serious expression, I have to go to school. Lin Wanwan raised her eyebrows slightly. So, I'll have a nurse come and take care of you during the day. Will you come over after school is out? I nodded lightly. I promised Wen Xiaojun I would take care of her until she's discharged, and I will absolutely do what I said I would. I would never just walk away in the middle of it. Go on. Lin Wanwan then closed her eyes. I had to change clothes before going to school. Before we got married, I was overjoyed and moved all my things into our new house. So even if I was completely unwilling now, even if I didn't want to return to that place of sorrow, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and go back. I took a cab all the way home. When I walked in and saw Chu Huilin inside, I raised my eyebrows in great surprise. Mom, you've been here this whole time? You didn't go back? I knew you'd come here after leaving the hospital. I want to have a proper talk with you. Seeing that I still had enough time, I wasn't in a rush to get to school, so I walked over and sat down without hesitation. Chu Huilin asked with a displeased expression, "Are you serious about divorcing Wanwan? Are you insane?" Chu Huilin put her teacup down heavily. Her face was clouded with anger. "Do you have any idea what a great blessing it is that you were able to marry her?" I replied with a bitter laugh. Maybe the real blessing would have been if I hadn't fallen in love with Lin Wanwan. Chu Huilin was momentarily stunned. "I finally understand what you used to say now. You always advised me not to fall in love with Lin Wanwan. In your eyes, as long as I didn't truly fall for her and just went ahead and married her, I would be able to live a happy and stable life forever." I reached out and took Chu Huilin's hand. "Your ultimate goal was for my own good. You wanted me to have a life free from worry. Right, aren't I, Mom?" Chu Huilin's expression stiffened slightly. "You're overthinking things." The moment she spoke, her face filled with unease. She forcefully pulled her hand out of mine. I didn't feel the least bit upset. In fact, a hint of a smile flashed in my eyes. I feigned an extremely serious expression and said, "Even if she stops giving me money to spend and teams up with Zhou Zimo to humiliate me." She even went as far as trying to ruin my entire reputation just to force a divorce. I've put up with everything so far, but how could they possibly have the nerve to do this? Chu Huilin's eyes widened in total shock, and in an instant, she was absolutely livid. Our Mu family might not be what it used to be, but we still have our pride and our legacy. Besides, our families have been friends for generations. Who the hell does she think she is, treating you this way? Gave a cold, hollow laugh. But in her heart, she only has room for Zhou Zimo. When a woman does something for the man she loves, sometimes she'll stop at nothing. Love? That's all nonsense. A woman's love is the most useless thing in the world. Chu Huilin let out the faintest sigh, her eyes filled with hesitation as she asked, "Are you sure all of this will really happen?" I gave her a firm, certain nod. Lin Wanwan has always detested me. Now she's been forced to marry me just to satisfy some dying wish. She's probably beyond disgusted with me by now. Well, if that's the case. Chu Huilin looked down, lost in thought for a moment, before she continued. "If you're truly dead set on divorcing her, finding another woman with such a great background will be damn near impossible. It might be impossible, but marrying someone perfect doesn't guarantee happiness anyway. Besides, even if I stay single for the rest of my life, I can still make myself happy." I said with a wide smile. "You're just talking nonsense now," she replied. "If you don't get married, your father and I— Oh, never mind. Let's not talk about this anymore." Chu Huilin is an incredibly headstrong woman. I only truly realized that after I was reborn, the hardships she endured in her youth turned her into someone prickly and defensive. She refused to soften her heart for anything, terrified that if she showed even a hint of weakness, misery would come knocking again and deliver another crushing blow, leaving her in unbearable agony. When Mu Liheng first married her and brought her home, she was only 1 year old. No matter how many nannies we hired, none of them could ever replace a mother. A child's bond with their mother is just human nature. If they can't find her, they won't stop crying. But I heard from the old housemaid that I hardly ever cried or threw tantrums as a baby. Even back then, I must have sensed something. I kept digging until I finally found out that before I was old enough to remember, Chu Huilin was home with me almost every single day. She was the one who took care of me most of the time. Anyone could see how much she adored me, but for some unknown reason, one day, she just started pushing me away on purpose. What drove her to make such a cold-hearted decision? To this day, no one can explain why. Then, when I was 4 years old, she gave birth to a daughter for Mu Liheng. That was my little sister, Mu Xiaobei. But she wasn't even close to her own flesh and blood. At first, I thought she was just naturally cold. Later, I figured she only cared about money and status. But thinking back on it now, if she really only cared about status, why would she have stayed when the family investments failed and we nearly went bankrupt? She didn't even complain once. I might not understand why she acts the way she does, but I know she cares about this family. She cares about me and Xiaobei, and that's enough. Even Xiaobei sees things more clearly than you do. I couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. My laughter sounded clear and bright. She said I'd never be happy if I married Lin Wanwan. Chu Huilin looked surprised. When on earth did she say that to you? Just 2 days before the wedding. What does a little brat like her know? Chu Huilin gave a disdainful snort, always sticking her nose into grown-up business at such a young age. Such a complete lack of discipline. I just stood to the side and smiled faintly. Seeing that it was indeed getting late, I stood right up from the sofa. I reached out and squeezed her stiff shoulder. I'll take you to a good hospital another day. We need to get that stiff shoulder of yours checked out properly. I'm going to go upstairs and take a shower first. I have to head to school in a bit. Are you going to class? Chu Huilin's expression flickered. You're not planning on dropping out anymore? I smiled and shook my head at her. If I weren't planning on divorcing her, I never would have dropped out in the first place. Chu Huilin's face instantly turned cold. She seemed to have guessed the reason. What on earth do you mean by that? Wen Xiujun forced me to drop out. Thinking of the pressure Wen Xiujun put on me back then, my own expression turned grim. As soon as Chu Huilin heard this, she flew into a rage. Her cheeks instantly flushed crimson as she raised a hand and pointed right at my nose, cursing. You spineless, clueless fool. How could you not tell me about something this huge? I thought you didn't want to study anymore yourself. If you had told me about this sooner, I would have gone to the Lin family to demand an explanation. What right does that Wen Xiujun have to be so tyrannical? Before the words had even left her mouth, still seething, she grabbed a coffee cup and hurled it at the television. The LCD screen couldn't take the impact and instantly shattered into a spiderweb of cracks. The coffee cup also smashed to pieces. Auntie Chen happened to be coming out of the kitchen just then. She froze on the spot, terrified by the scene. Chu Huilin shot her a sideways glance, letting out a series of cold sneers. There's not a single good person in the entire Lin family. It's for the best that you divorce her sooner. With a weak, gullible personality like yours, if you'd stayed with her, you would have suffered a huge loss sooner or later. Auntie Chen had been the Lin family's maid for years. Wen Xiujun sent her over personally. On the surface, she made it sound very pleasant, saying she was meticulous, a good caretaker, and could manage our daily lives. But in reality, she was just sent here to spy. All these angry things Chu Huilin was saying right now, Auntie Chen would surely report every last word back to that Wen Xiujun. Chu Huilin knew this perfectly well. She had clearly said all of that on purpose just now. This is all my fault. I clasped my hands tightly in front of me, lowering my head in a posture of apology, exactly as I did when I made mistakes as a child. I didn't dare tell her about it back then because I was afraid she'd go and start a fight with the Lin family. That would have only made the Lin family even more displeased. In my past life, I never understood. Life with your in-laws is completely different depending on whether you have your own family to back you up. Chu Huilin had a fiery, formidable personality, having grown up in a complex, remote area. Dealing with someone like Wen Xiujun, a pampered lady who had been sheltered and coddled her whole life, would be an incredibly simple matter for her. If I had her support in my past life, my time with the Lin family would never have been so difficult. I remember you used to have quite a temper. You were never someone to be trifled with. How did you become such a pushover? Seeing my pitiful, aggrieved expression, Chu Huilin's tone gradually softened. I told you a long time ago not to fall for her. I guaranteed this life of yours would be comfortable. And back then you even got mad at me over it, as if I were deliberately trying to harm you. You think love is useless? Then does that mean you don't love Dad? I lifted my gaze and looked at her quietly. Chen, you're still too young. Chu Huilin sighed softly. When two people get together to live their lives, whether or not they can make it for the long haul absolutely cannot be sustained by love alone. You could even say it's not sustained by love at all. When you truly marry someone, in a few days, you'll naturally understand. Even though I went through endless hardships before my rebirth, and suffered every kind of emotional pain imaginable, because I never truly lived a proper life with her, I was still clueless about the true meaning of marriage. Now, I finally understand your good intentions. My eyes blinked a few times, making me look quite mischievous. From now on, I'll definitely listen to you more. Faced with my sudden display of closeness, Chu Huilin seemed extremely uncomfortable. She curled her lip awkwardly, and replied coldly, though her heart said otherwise, "Oh, don't you dare say that. I'm not your biological mother anyway. Whether you listen to me or not is entirely up to you." The smile in my eyes gradually deepened. Even though you're not my real mom, you still care so much about my business. Who has the time to care about you? Chu Huilin waved her hand impatiently. Hurry up and get on with whatever you're supposed to be doing. I couldn't help but laugh happily, my eyes shimmering with a bright light. Okay, then I'll head upstairs first. Looking at the time, it really is getting late. I went upstairs, took a quick hot shower, changed my clothes, grabbed my application form, and headed out. Our family originally only had one driver, along with Lin Wanwan in that car accident. He also unfortunately suffered some minor injuries and was resting. I had no choice but to walk out of the villa area. The main road to hail a taxi. It's really hard to catch a ride around here. After waiting a long time, I finally caught one. After getting in, I told the driver my destination. I took out my phone and messaged Lu Zubai, arranging to meet him at the university entrance. He looked like he was trying hard to explain something. After a few words, that gentleman went back. Hearing that, I immediately had a guess and quickly pressed the driver for more details. What did that man look like? What color clothes was he wearing at the time? The driver gave a brief description from memory. I was certain that person was Joe Zamo. What was he doing here in the middle of the night? I really couldn't figure it out. But I was sure he was up to no good. That guy is full of wicked schemes. Experienced that firsthand in my past life. I turned to look at the scenery outside the car window. A cold, mocking look flickered in my eyes. Although I can't touch Lin Wanwan right now, I can still make Joe Zamo suffer a bit. The taxi stopped steadily at the entrance of H University. After paying the fare, I got out and immediately saw someone squatting by the roadside. It was my longtime friend, Lu Zubai. He was wearing a set of casual sportswear. His hair was a bit messy from the wind, looking like he had just finished exercising. As soon as he looked up and saw me, he immediately stood up excitedly. "Brother Chen, you finally came." I immediately stopped in my tracks, not daring to move. I crossed my arms over my chest in a defensive posture, but I still couldn't avoid his flying leap. I was wrapped in a very solid, full-body hug. "Do you have any idea how much I missed you? I thought after you got married, you were going to completely ditch your brother." My face was covered by his messy hair. He wore a pitiful, aggrieved expression. "This is your punishment for avoiding me. You didn't even let me attend the wedding." My hand, which was about to push him away, froze in midair. Back then, to successfully marry Lin Wanwan, Wen Xiujun gave me a whole list of demands. Making me drop out of school was just one of them. She also demanded that I cut off all social ties. In the eyes of that snob Wen Xiujun, all of my friends were beneath us and weren't worthy of the status of Lin Wanwan's husband. I was blinded by so-called love back then, and actually agreed to everything in a daze, even heartlessly abandoning my old friends. That included my brother Lu Zubai. I still remember the time I saw him again in my past life. The deep disappointment in his eyes. Later, I was trapped in a desperate situation, completely alone. All that suffering was my own damn fault. There was no good reason to go to that wedding in the first place. An endless wave of guilt washed over me, even as he was squeezing me so hard I could barely breathe. I didn't raise a hand to push him away. After all, I was going to divorce her soon anyway. "Huh? What did you say?" Lu Zubai suddenly let go of my arms. His face was a picture of utter shock. I gave him a playful wink. "You heard me right. Once her injuries heal and she's discharged from the hospital, I'm going to file for divorce with her immediately. Haven't you always dreamed of marrying her?" Lu Zubai's face scrunched up in frustration as he ran a hand through his messy hair. "Isn't marrying her your lifelong dream?" I just shrugged noncommittally. That was back when I was young and naive. But ever since I married her, I've realized she's not all that special. Say, it couldn't be that she's barren, could it? Wicked idea popped into my head. I deliberately pursed my dry lips, pretending I was too conflicted to speak. "Well, in that case, you definitely have to get a divorce." Lu Zubai shook his head, his face full of pity. I never would have dreamed that Lin Wanwan had that kind of hidden problem. I guess heaven really is fair. I nodded in enthusiastic agreement. That's exactly right. With a big mouth like Lu Zubai's, the gossip about Lin Wanwan's potential issue would be all over the city in less than a day. This counts as a little bit of revenge against her. Feeling incredibly cheerful, I put my arm around his shoulder. "Come on, come with me to the counselor's office. I need to get my withdrawal application back. From now on, my main mission is to buckle down, finish the last 3 years of college, and live a normal, quiet, ordinary life." "Brother Chen, why did you drop out in the first place?" "It was all because of that woman, Wen Xiujun. She wouldn't agree to our marriage otherwise." My voice was thick with sarcasm. He glanced up at my cold profile and, taking the hint, started cursing her out. "I knew it was that woman's doing. Why else would you drop out when everything was going so well? For a great guy with your qualifications, what more could she possibly be unsatisfied with?" "My qualifications?" I pointed to a guy drawing on a bulletin board not far away. "That's Yi Wei, the young master of the Yi family. Now that's what Wen Xiujun considers good qualifications. So basically, it's just about having a good family background? That's as shallow as it gets." I just gave a faint laugh and didn't respond to his complaint. That's just how cruel the real world is. No matter how outstanding you are on your own, if you don't have the family background to back it up, you're still inferior in the eyes of the Lin family. Thinking about it carefully, in my past life, even if Zhou Zimo had successfully married into the family, and even with all of Lin Wanwan's affection, given his humble background, his life would have been absolutely miserable, facing contempt and disdain from others every single day. That kind of feeling would be incredibly hard to endure. Once I thought about it that way, I instantly felt a whole lot better. I walked quickly all the way to the counselor's office. Just as I was about to raise my hand to knock, the office door was pulled open from the inside. The man inside was suddenly face to face with me, and his calm expression changed instantly. "Why are you suddenly here? Haven't you already dropped out?" I couldn't help but laugh out loud right there. The man standing in front of me was no stranger. It was Zhou Zimo's own younger brother, Zhou Kayang. And speaking of this Zhou Keyong fellow, he was truly the world's best little brother to Zhou Zimo, constantly lusting after his own brother's woman. And secretly doing everything he could to trip his brother up. His behavior was so touching, it could move heaven and earth. It's not like you can't come back after dropping out. Lu Zubai grinned mockingly at Zhou Keyong. Does it feel absolutely miserable inside? Zhou Keyong glared at him with a dark, sinister gaze. I wasn't talking to you and your big mouth. Don't go out of your way to bother me. Don't you care about your own dignity? Well, I don't give a damn about dignity. Anyway, you're inferior to my brother Chen in every way. Plotting and playing dirty behind someone's back, now that's what I call losing dignity. When did I ever play dirty tricks? Lu Zubai let out a cold, contemptuous sneer. You know damn well what you did. Last month, in anatomy class, brother Chen's rabbit was murdered. It had to be your doing. A flash of panic crossed Zhou Qiang's eyes. Stop slandering me with those lies. I would never stoop so low as to do something so filthy. You need evidence before you open your mouth. You're the one who did it. Enough. I quickly cut off their endless bickering. Looking at the person in front of me with a faint, narrow-eyed smile, I spoke. I don't want to hear your pointless arguing. Zhou Keyong, you're blocking my path. Would you mind stepping aside, please? Zhou Keyong stared at me with wide, bulging eyes, showing no intention of moving an inch. I knew this guy all too well, ever since I first stepped foot into this university. Just because I'm Lin Wanwan's fiancé, he's been coming after me like a rabid dog. If he doesn't find some way to cause trouble for me every single day, his dark little heart just isn't satisfied. Like this tense moment right now, he's definitely planning to sting me with some vicious words. The kind of words meant to hurt me no matter what. As I expected, after just a few seconds, Zhou Keyong made his move. Mu Chen, if you drop out and focus on sucking up to Sister Lin at home, maybe you could actually win her heart. But now you've suddenly changed your mind? And besides, my brother is back in the country now. I bet you'll be getting those divorce papers ready real soon. He knew exactly how to twist the knife in my heart. If this were my past life, hearing those words would have felt like a blade through my chest. But now, I felt absolutely nothing. Therefore, instead of seeing a pained or ugly expression on my face, he saw me flash my straight, white teeth. I gave him a chilling, mocking smile. Does saying that make you feel any better? What do you mean? My unexpected reaction made his mind go blank. You've always had a crush on Lin Wanwan. When you talk about me sucking up to her every day, isn't your own heart bleeding? I suddenly reached out and grabbed his jaw. I shook his face roughly from side to side, clicking my tongue as I continued with a look of pure disdain. Your looks aren't that much worse than your brother's. Don't you feel even a little bit resentful? Your brother has the power to force her to divorce me. Why do you think you can't do it yourself? Zhou Qiang's face turned pale instantly. He slammed my hand away and hissed through gritted teeth. Mu Chen, stop talking nonsense. I never had a crush on Sister Lin. Look at your hypocritical face. You're in love with a woman but don't even have the guts to admit it. It looks like in this life, you're destined to just stand aside and watch your own brother and the woman you love being all lovey-dovey right in front of you. My words weren't just malicious. I wasn't even treating Zhou Keyong like a human being. I was driving a dull knife straight into his weakest spot. I wanted him to live in agony every single day. I wanted his delusions to sprout even earlier than they did in my past life. Before I completely finalize the divorce with Lin Wanwan, I'm going to personally stir up as much trouble for Zhou Zimo as possible. Shut your mouth. Zhou Qiang's eyes had turned bloodshot. His chest was heaving, his breathing heavy and ragged. This is nothing but a pack of lies. I shrugged with total indifference, my face clearly saying, you know I'm right. Zhou Qiang's mind was on the verge of a breakdown. He shot me one last look filled with pure, unadulterated hatred. He turned around and quickly fled from here. Chen Zhe, don't tell me Zhou Keyong likes Lin Wanwan, too? Lu Zubai grabbed my arm tightly. Curiosity was written all over his face. I knew that deep down, he was a huge gossip. This was obviously not the right time to tell him too much, so I made a gesture for him to be patient. Then, I turned and walked into the counselor's office. To think, back then I had insisted on dropping out. The counselor had tried relentlessly to persuade me, adamantly refusing, but in the end, he saw that I was dead set on leaving. Only then was he forced to agree with helplessness and regret. Now, seeing me suddenly change my mind and want to stay, he was naturally overjoyed. After all, losing such an excellent medical student was an extremely heartbreaking and regrettable matter. After the counselor sternly gave me a few instructions, he let Lu Zubai and me head back. We had just gotten a little distance from the office when he looked up at me with stars in his eyes. Chen Zhe, hurry up and tell me. I'm so curious I can't take it anymore. Hurry up and tell me the truth. Haven't you already figured it out? Zhou Keyong has indeed always had a secret crush on Lin Wanwan. I let a small smirk form on my lips, my smile thick with ridicule. He's been extremely fond of Lin Wanwan since they were little, but alas, she's only ever had eyes for Zhou Zimo. Until I said what I did just now, he always thought that as long as his brother was worthy of her, all he had to do was silently watch over her from the sidelines. How do you know about this so clearly? Lu Zubai was completely stunned by this bombshell. I just smiled mysteriously and said nothing. He tactfully chose not to press any further. After struggling to process this earth-shattering gossip, his slightly slow mind came up with a question. Why is it that before you said those things, Zhou Keyong thought that way? What about after you said it? He'll definitely start to feel resentful. The idea of competing with his own brother will begin to sprout. I was stoking the deepest desires of his heart. I took the locker key out of my pocket, slipping my finger through the key ring and spinning it with a look of delight. Lu Zubai finally understood. A mischievous grin immediately appeared on his face. Chen Jie, you rascal, you're still as wicked as ever. I raised an eyebrow slightly and looked at him. Just now, I saw the Mu Chen from our high school days again. He gave my shoulder a hard bump and let out a goofy laugh. You were so wild and arrogant back then. That spirited look of yours, like you wouldn't bow to anyone. It's a shame that once you got to college, you started pretending to be a good boy. It's no fun at all. The smile on my face gradually faded. Mu Liheng's biological mother, who is also my paternal grandmother, was a northerner. When he was young, he often went with his mother to live in the north, staying for several months at a time. That's why his personality is so bold and unrestrained. Add to that the fact that he wasn't particularly smart, and he lived happily and carefree for all those years. Otherwise, he wouldn't have caused years of the Mu family's hard work to go up in smoke because of one failed investment. I took after him a little in terms of personality, plus their expectations of me were incredibly low. As a result, after starting high school, I completely let myself go. Strictly speaking, I was a student who, despite getting very good grades, was seen as a delinquent in the eyes of my teachers. As for why I forced myself to change after starting college, to become a conventional, rule-abiding good boy. Of course, it was because of Lin Wanwan and Wen Xiujun. I quickly pulled myself out of the memories of my past life. In an extremely flat tone, I muttered to myself, if she had never been a part of my world, how wonderfully I would have lived my last life. Chen Jie, what were you just whispering about? Lu Zubai hadn't heard me clearly and asked with a curious look on his face. I gently shook my head to show it was nothing. From now on, I will live as my true self. I squeezed his warm hand, and the two of us walked to the classroom with a light step. I've been smart since I was little, learning everything much faster than others. Back when I got a top score on the college entrance exams, my parents told me to pick whatever major made me happy. Among all the popular options, I didn't hesitate for a second. I chose to study medicine. The path of medicine is grueling and long, and Mu Liheng had made it clear that he didn't approve. I just stubbornly told him it was what I loved and stood my ground without looking back. I never told him the real reason. The truth is, I did it for my late biological mother. It wasn't entirely about saving lives or keeping other families from falling apart. It was to accrue merit and pray for my mother, who passed away so young. Her life was just far too short. I hope that in her next life, everything goes smoothly and she can live a peaceful, stable life. A whole morning of professional courses finally ended, and luckily, I had no classes scheduled for the afternoon. Lu Zubai hadn't hung out with me in ages, so he excitedly invited me to go shopping. But I still had to go to the hospital to take care of Lin Wanwan. After I told him the situation, we agreed to go another day, and I headed straight from school to the hospital. I reached the hospital building and was heading upstairs toward the ward, when I ran into Wen Xiujun just as she was coming out. She looked visibly stunned to see me. Then, with a look of pure disdain, she spoke up. Well, you certainly have some nerve, don't you, kid? I was completely baffled by that comment. What? She actually hated your guts, but I didn't expect that after just one night. Didn't expect that after just one night. I didn't expect that after just one night. I didn't expect that after just one night. She doesn't seem to hate you that much anymore. Was I wrong to say you're quite capable? Her words were dripping with hidden meanings. I just furrowed my brows and didn't say a word. In the past, I always acted like a good boy in front of her. No matter how much she went out of her way to make things hard for me, or how cruel and biting her words were, I just bow my head and never talk back. Even though my attitude has become much firmer since my rebirth, she clearly isn't used to it yet. Seeing me stand there in silence, she probably thought I was too scared to open my mouth. So she pushed even further, mocking me. Like mother, like son. A woman like that could only raise a lowlife like you. Deep down, you're the same trash. Since she wanted to keep pushing her luck without any restraint, I wasn't going to indulge her anymore. Wen Xiujun, if you're sick, go get some help already. I couldn't even bring myself to call her Mom anymore. My expression turned cold as ice. You're supposed to be part of the Lin family, yet you talk like some vulgar thug from the streets. Aren't you afraid of dragging down the Lin family's reputation? Those words were incredibly harsh. She clearly didn't expect me to show her zero respect or to say something so biting to her face. For a moment, she just stood there, paralyzed with shock. Once she finally snapped out of it, her face turned a deep, angry shade of purple. Mu Chen, how dare you talk to me like that? Even if you and Wanwan are getting a divorce, you have no right to call me by my full name. I am still your elder. You're the one with absolutely no manners. You're a disgrace to your entire family line. She relied heavily on her powerful maiden family, and her luck in marrying into the Lin family back then, though she'd always been spoiled and overbearing, acting like a prickly hedgehog that would lash out at anyone she didn't like. Hardly anyone ever dared to go head-to-head with her, so the insults she threw out when she argued were really only this pathetic. Hearing her drag my ancestors into this, I really couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. Fine, you're right, calling you by your name was my mistake. So, how about I go back to calling you Aunt Wen? Tell me, Aunt Wen, how can you be so heartless? Your own daughter is lying in there in pain, and we don't even know if she'll have permanent brain damage. Instead of worrying about her health, you're wasting your time here trying to pick a fight with me. If you're really that bored, you might as well go play a few rounds of mahjong instead. Mu Chen, you've got some nerve. I rolled my eyes, not caring how I looked. I really couldn't be bothered to deal with her anymore, so I turned and pushed open the door to the hospital room. I shouted into the room, Lin Wanwan, your mother is being completely unreasonable. I don't want to fight with your mom over this. Let's just have the caregiver look after you. Even if I had beaten Wen Xiujun on the spot, she would have never imagined I dared to pull a stunt like this. She was on the verge of being driven mad by me. She raised a hand and shoved my shoulder hard. You actually dared to complain to my daughter? Who the hell do you think you are? Wanwan, come look at this piece of trash. He has absolutely no respect for me, his elder. He dared to call me a common shrew and said I was lowering the standards of your Lin family. I can't take this for another day. I'm calling the people from the Civil Affairs Bureau right now. You two must get a divorce today, right now. Oh, that's just wonderful. Clapped my hands excitedly. Thank you so much. Having a powerful and influential mother-in-law is great. You don't even have to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau yourself to get a divorce. That's so convenient. Please, hurry it up. One is a hopeless romantic, the other a foul-tempered menopausal woman. I couldn't stand this mother-daughter duo for another day. On the hospital bed, the veins on Lin Wanwan's forehead were throbbing. Her entire being radiated a terrifying hostility. The number of men in this world who wanted to marry her was countless. Any man who could marry her would probably wake up from his dreams laughing. But this treasure, coveted by countless people, was being so brazenly despised by me. This dealt a massive blow to her proud ego. How could she possibly swallow such an insult? It's best if you just obediently agree to the divorce. Wen Xiujun pointed her finger straight at my nose. A furious rage burned in her eyes as she threatened me with a smile that didn't reach them. Can I get the people from the Civil Affairs Bureau here, if you dare to go back on your word and pester her? I'll not only make you suffer the consequences, I'll make sure your entire Mu family pays the price. I also put on a fake, insincere smile. Whoever backs out of this is a puppy. It's a deal. As soon as the words left my mouth, she hurriedly opened her purse, ready to take out her phone and call someone. Mom, I told you, only Grandpa has the final say in my marriage. Lin Wanwan stared intently at the hospital room door. Her gaze turned extremely sinister and frightening. Whether or not I divorce him now is entirely my decision to make. Stop meddling. Wanwan, if you don't divorce him now, how long are you planning to wait? Wen Xiujun was utterly bewildered, her eyes turning red with anger. A flash of annoyance crossed Lin Wanwan's face. I told you, stay out of this. I insist on getting involved in this mess. I don't want this kind of unpresentable son-in-law. Besides, haven't you always liked Zhou Zimo? He's already back in the country now. Shouldn't you be eager to finalize the divorce so you can marry him in grand style? Fine, I'll divorce him today and marry Zhou Zimo tomorrow. Lin Wanwan said coldly with an expressionless face, absolutely not. Wen Xiujun almost blurted out instinctively that her precious daughter should marry someone of equal social standing. A man with a powerful family background who is outstanding in his own right. What kind of trash are this Mu Chen and Zhou Zimo? Not only can they not help my daughter's career, they might even seriously drag her down in the future. Lin Wanwan let out an ice-cold sneer. So this was what her mother had been thinking all along. No wonder you were so cruel back then. In any case, you won't agree to me marrying him either. So why should I be in a hurry to get a divorce now? Lin Wanwan wearily turned her head. Staring blankly at the ceiling, she said, tell Mu Chen to get in here and see me. Wanwan, please, listen to your mother. Stop wasting your breath on this. Lin Wanwan cut her off coldly, her voice so harsh it lacked even a trace of emotion. Wen Xiujun glared at me with a face full of resentment before turning away in a fit of rage and storming out. I watched her angry figure disappear, my eyes narrowed and my expression thoughtful. In my previous life, my heart and soul were entirely focused on Lin Wanwan, so I never noticed such a glaring blind spot. A woman with a personality as dominant as Wen Xiujun's had never once been able to stand her ground against her own daughter. She practically obeyed every single thing her daughter said. Was it really just because she loved her that much? But she is Lin Wanwan's biological mother, after all. If she truly made up her mind to cause a scene, Lin Wanwan would most likely have been forced to give in. This whole thing feels stranger the more I think about it. She could hear the confusion in my heart clearly. I was completely lost in trying to figure out what she was thinking. This made Lin Wanwan's emotions incredibly complicated. She let out a soft cough. She was trying to pull my wandering attention back to her. I snapped out of my deep thoughts instantly. I tilted my head in confusion and looked at her silently. "Get in here, now," she said. Did as I was told and walked inside, not stopping until I reached her hospital bed. I pulled over a chair and sat down. "Why didn't you take this chance to just divorce me?" It wasn't just Wen Xiujun who didn't understand. I was just as baffled myself. "You and Zhou Zimo have always loved each other. Since you want to marry him in style, your mother's fierce opposition wouldn't have mattered anyway. So, I really don't understand. In our last life, if I hadn't been so obsessed and refused to let go, then on the very first day he returned to the country, you probably couldn't have waited to drag me to get a divorce. How could we have spent 3 years entangled in such bitterness? If we divorce right after getting married, it will severely damage the Lin family's reputation. So, a divorce is absolutely out of the question for the time being. Before my rebirth, this woman dreamed of leaving but couldn't. After being reborn, the one dreaming of a divorce has become me. Life really is full of such ironic drama. I absolutely cannot let this drag on. We must divorce as soon as you are discharged. She really has experienced a rebirth. To think something so supernatural actually exists in this world. You've probably forgotten that when we had our wedding, only our families were there. Even the media doesn't know we're married because you intentionally kept it a secret. The public still thinks you're single, so our divorce won't affect the Lin family at all. No secret stays hidden forever. I need a clear timeline. Exactly how much longer until we can divorce? At least 6 months. 6 months is absolutely out of the question. I can't wait that long. Then how long do you want? The moment you're out of the hospital, we're done. 1 year. Why are you starting to hike up the price now? I'll just be honest with you. I already have someone I truly love, so I'm in a hurry to divorce so I can be with him. I don't believe a word of your lies. I have no reason to lie to you. If you can accept me messing around while we're still married, and you're willing to let me make a fool out of you by cheating openly, then I'll reluctantly listen to you. And we'll wait 6 months to finalize the divorce. I can accept that. You can accept what? Has this heartless, ungrateful wolf suddenly found religion? Is she starting to act like a saint now? Fine, if that's what you want. Since you can accept even that so calmly, I have nothing left to say. If you say 6 months, then it's 6 months. But we need to set 3 ground rules first. During this time, I'll move back home. We will each live our own separate lives. If there's no reason to meet, let's not see each other at all. That is perfectly fine. It was time for lunch. 10 minutes later, I walked in with the thermal lunchbox, sat down without any expression, and opened it. I brought the spoonful of hot porridge to her lips, and I'm not sure if my hand trembled on purpose. A good amount of the porridge spilled onto her neck. Mu Chen. Those 2 words seemed forced from the depths of her lungs, suppressing an immense rage. With a panicked look, I quickly got up and pulled a few tissues from the dispenser on the cabinet. I frantically started wiping her neck, apologizing over and over as I did. "I'm so sorry, I really didn't do it on purpose. Please don't be angry. It's your fault for provoking me earlier. Now that you can't move, I can do whatever I want to you, can't I?" Lin Wanwan heard my thoughts clearly, feeling the tissue covered in the sticky liquid. Gradually moving towards her delicate face, her expression turned as black as the bottom of a burnt pot. "There's no porridge on my face at all." "Oh, there isn't? I'm so sorry. I really thought there was." "Mu Chen, do you have a death wish? I know you're powerful and influential, Miss Lin. Anyone who offends you meets a terrible end. But you can't possibly be cruel enough to get rid of me, right?" Lin Wanwan let out a cold sneer. "I most certainly can. Well, we can talk about that when you're able to move again. For now, you'll just have to put up with it." I returned her sneer without hesitation. Lin Wanwan glared at me, her eyes turning bloodshot. "Wipe my entire body clean. Then change me into a fresh set of clothes. I can't do that kind of work. I'm a virile young man. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to do something like that. I'll go find someone to change you." This time, Lin Wanwan was truly enraged. Her usually ice-cold face showed a rare flash of fury. "Absolutely not. It has to be you. If you don't get me cleaned up today." With a slam of the door, before Lin Wanwan could finish her threat, I had already strode out of the room. Lin Wanwan squeezed her eyes shut in anguish. She felt as though every blood vessel in her body was constricting with rage, ready to burst at any moment. In the past, I had always acted meek and obedient in front of her and Wen Xiujun. I seemed completely harmless, but now, looking back, it was definitely an act one put on deliberately. This kid is definitely not to be underestimated. After suffering in agony for who knows how long, just as she was reaching the limit of her tolerance for the stickiness, the door to the room was finally pushed open. "Hurry up, quickly," Lin Wanwan urged impatiently. "Miss, please bear with it for a moment. I'll go get a wet towel from the bathroom first." The hoarse voice that replied from the doorway made her freeze. She turned her neck, a bit stiffly, to see a woman who looked to be in her 50s. She was shuffling towards the bathroom. She had no idea where I had found her from. The woman looked disheveled and grimy, dressed in old, worn-out work clothes. The clothes were covered in many suspicious-looking stains. To have a woman like this wash her body, she would rather be put out of her misery. Get out right now. Mr. Mew told me what happened to you. I feel deeply for you. You can rest assured. I would never laugh at you. Do you have any idea who I am? Does it matter who you are? My name is Lin Wanwan. Never heard of you. Mew Chen. That damn bastard. Lin Wanwan took a sharp breath and closed her eyes in despair. Seeing this, the woman immediately strode over. The process of washing her body was especially agonizing for her. I put on a show and yawned. This person I found is pretty good, huh? Quite good. I'll have to trouble you with your thoughtful care until I'm discharged. To my surprise, she didn't fly into a rage this time. Instead, she seemed extremely calm, except for when she bit out the word, thoughtful. It was as if she had to force it through her teeth. Otherwise, I would have really thought she wasn't angry at all. I narrowed my eyes dangerously, a hint of vigilance on my face. This woman is incredibly malicious. Who knows what she's plotting in her mind? To take brutal revenge on me once she can move again. But since I've already thoroughly offended her, and there's no escaping her revenge anyway, I might as well kick her while she's down. Lin Wanwan suddenly felt her current situation was completely and utterly helpless. She tried to gently move her arm, and the piercing pain made her gasp. There was no hope of moving on her own. She clearly recognized this miserable fact. She licked her somewhat dry lips and suddenly asked, Mew Chen, do you still love me? Hearing this, I gave a slight laugh. What do you mean, do I still love you? I never loved you in the first place, okay? The answer was blunt and without a hint of hesitation. And whether it was my expression or my tone, there wasn't the slightest trace of me saying one thing and meaning another. Even without hearing my innermost thoughts, she could clearly tell that I no longer had even a shred of affection for her. This realization made Lin Wanwan's eyes darken slightly. In truth, she couldn't say she felt all that heartbroken. She just felt a little regretful. Just when she wasn't paying attention at all, a sincere love had quietly slipped away. The two of them were silent for a long time. Lin Wanwan spoke, her voice hoarse, if Zhou Zimo and I get married, will we be happy in the future? You probably will be. I don't think so. That, I wouldn't know. Is there anything else you need? Lin Wanwan shook her head. Then you should get some sleep. I'm planning to take a nap, too. I walked over to the accompanying family bed, took off my shoes, and lay down. I closed my eyes and could feel her staring at me. Lin Wanwan's gaze was irritating me. Why does she keep staring at me? What is wrong with this person? Just as that thought flashed through my mind, Lin Wanwan turned her face away. My tightly furrowed brow slowly relaxed, and before long, I fell into a deep sleep. Lin Wanwan heard my breathing become even and knew I was sound asleep. She then turned her gaze back toward me. At this moment, in Lin Wanwan's eyes, I looked very pleasing to the eye. Before, she never had eyes for me. Only now did she realize I was quite good-looking, with a chiseled face and an outstanding presence. My features were strong and handsome, very eye-catching. In terms of looks alone, I was definitely no worse than Zhou Zimo. Perhaps her gaze was too intense, as I felt a bit uncomfortable in my sleep. I frowned and whimpered a couple of times, then turned over. Lin Wanwan let out a faint laugh, then closed her eyes as well. I slept until 4 in the afternoon. When I woke up, I was a bit puzzled to see the hospital room door open. I turned to see Lin Wanwan lying beside me, apparently still fast asleep. I slowly sat up in bed, put on my shoes, and walked out of the room. When I saw Shu Jiaqi standing nearby, a smile immediately appeared on my face. When did you get here? I just arrived not too long ago. Shu Jiaqi has a rather quiet personality and doesn't usually smile much. When faced with my friendly smile, she could only manage a stiff twitch of her lips. The nurse said to open the door for some ventilation, so I opened it. So that's what it was. I knew I couldn't act too familiar with her. After saying that, she was about to turn back to the ward. Sir, I ran into young Master Zhou when I came in. He was on the phone downstairs just now. I don't know if he'll be coming up later. Shu Jiaqi didn't really need to say that. She probably shouldn't have, but maybe she sensed my goodwill. She hesitated for a moment, but still said it. I was a bit stunned after hearing her. Then I smiled sweetly. It's fine. If he wants to come up, let him. His legs are his own. No one can control where he goes. But, Director Lin will mind. Shu Jiaqi didn't dare to be too direct, so she could only give a subtle reminder like this. You'll feel bad about it then. I smiled and shook my head. I won't. I got used to it a long time ago. This left Shu Jiaqi at a loss for words, so she chose to remain silent. I was just about to say something else when a woman's cold voice came from the hospital room. It faintly carried a trace of anger. Mew Chen, I'm thirsty. I subconsciously rolled my eyes. Then, I nodded and smiled at Shu Jiaqi before turning and walking into the room. The woman on the bed had an unfriendly look in her eyes. I thought she was just grumpy from waking up. and found everyone annoying, so I didn't think much of it. I poured a glass of warm water and brought it to her. Are you and Shu Jiaqi close? Lin Wanwan's eyes flickered. She had asked a similar question before. A flash of irritation crossed my face. I put down the glass and replied coldly. Not at all, but you two don't look like you're not close. Lin Wanwan let out a cold laugh. Is this woman just trying to pick a fight? Why is she suddenly so concerned about me and Shu Jiaqi? Concerned about whether we know each other? Or if we're really close? Does she have nothing better to do right now? Alright, this woman really does have too much time on her hands right now. But this is really annoying. Hearing my internal complaints, Lin Wanwan's already sour expression worsened. I didn't have a single good thought about her in my mind. Hearing it all the time is bound to be unpleasant. You think we look close? That's because I'm deliberately trying to win her over, I said with a fake smile on my face. Why? Why else would a man try to win over a woman? Because I'm into her, of course. The curve of my lips deepened. It carried a thick sense of malice. Aren't you the one who can accept me cheating on you? A woman with your mindset is hard to find. I have to take this opportunity to cheat on you a few more times. Since we're going for something thrilling, we might as well go for the ultimate thrill. I'm determined to piss you off. As my voice trailed off, Lin Wanwan's face became completely frosty. Although she knew I was deliberately trying to anger her, and that these words weren't serious, she was still deeply infuriated. The look she gave me was deep and icy. I looked into her eyes, but it was like staring into a bottomless pit. I couldn't help but feel a slight shock. A chill instantly crept into my heart. As the helm of the group, Lin Wanwan naturally has the powerful aura of someone in charge. When she's angry, even with no expression on her face, without saying a single word, it's enough to make people feel terrified. I had witnessed her methods before my rebirth. I'm actually quite scared of her too. If it weren't for the rage filling my heart, and the fact that she can't move right now, I would never dare to offend her like this. Your nerve has grown quite a bit. Lin Wanwan's lips curled slightly into a smile. It was a wicked smile. Keep it up. I pressed my lips together tightly. Should I stop provoking her? Otherwise, once she recovers and leaves the hospital, I won't even know what hit me. Lin Wanwan listened quietly to my inner thoughts, her smile turning derisive. Get revenge on her? This man really has some nerve. You must be thirsty now, right? Have some water. I quickly picked up the water glass beside her, trying to appease Lin Wanwan's anger, so she wouldn't rack her brains trying to screw me over. Lin Wanwan gave a faint smile. Slap someone and then offer them a sweet date? As if that's possible. You're overthinking things, I denied. Lin Wanwan let out a cold laugh, just as she was about to intimidate me. The sound of leather shoes approached from outside the door. I guessed it had to be Zhou Zimo coming up. I immediately brought the glass to Lin Wanwan's lips. Darling, let me give you some water. My sudden strange behavior made her freeze for a moment. Then she saw Zhou Zimo walk into the room and instantly understood why. Of course, she wouldn't play along with my act, unless she'd suddenly found religion. Stay away from me, Lin Wanwan said, her face cold. That was completely expected. I dropped the fake smile from my face. I straightened up, shrugged nonchalantly, and said with a loud, dramatic sigh. You still hate me this much? Let me feed her. Zhou Zimo walked over quickly and took the water glass from my hand. He looked at Lin Wanwan with a gentle expression. Her words just now had put him at ease. It seemed I was just bluffing yesterday. Lin Wanwan has only ever had eyes for him. She would never even spare another man a glance. How could she have a change of heart just like that? Besides, a young guy like me is not her type at all. He had been worrying for nothing. But even so, he had to get Wanwan to divorce as soon as possible. He had waited for this day for too long. He really couldn't wait any longer. It was time to marry Lin Wanwan. As long as he showed Lin Wanwan a little kindness, everything he wanted would soon be his. Lin Wanwan could hear every single thing Zhou Zimo was plotting in his mind. She looked at the man she had loved for so many years, her eyes filled with bone-deep disappointment and disgust. It turned out that the Zhou Zimo she had seen was only the version he wanted her to see. It was so fake it was horrifying, and the one thing Lin Wanwan hated most was being deceived. Besides, this was more than just deception. This man dreamed of marrying her, yet he always pretended to have no feelings for her, playing a game of push and pull. He was simply treating her like a complete fool. Zhou Zimo saw that Lin Wanwan wasn't drinking the water, nor was she saying a word, just staring at him with an icy gaze. He couldn't help but start to panic inside. Wanwan, what's wrong? Lin Wanwan lowered her gaze. Her long eyelashes fluttered slightly. I don't want to drink it anymore. Then what would you like to drink? I'll go buy it for you, okay? Zhou Zimo asked softly, blinking his big, innocent eyes in a tone you'd use to coax a child. Buddy, can you use some common sense? Can she drink anything besides water right now? I said, slumping onto the nearby sofa. I let out a big, lazy yawn. Looks like you're still not charming enough. After 5 years abroad, you finally come back, and if you were to feed her poison, she might even drink it willingly. My intention to stir up trouble was too obvious. It was practically written all over my face. A surge of anger flared up inside Zhou Zimo. but in front of Lin Wanwan, he had no choice but to force it down. Mu Chen, I know you really don't like me, and honestly, I can understand that, but you're married to Sister Wanwan now. I hope you two can live happily. You really don't have to be so hostile towards me. Which of your eyes saw me being hostile to you? I found his words utterly ridiculous. As if you're even worthy of my hostility. Zhou Zimo's expression changed instantly. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that in front of Wanwan. What gave this Mu Chen the right to be so arrogant? The reason Zhou Zimo found this so hard to accept was all because Lin Wanwan had spoiled him in the past. It gave him an intense sense of superiority. To put it bluntly, he was just throwing his weight around because of her. He really thinks he's all that. I couldn't care less how he reacts. What I cared about was Lin Wanwan's reaction. If she flew into a rage because of what I said, and threatened to make me pay, then I would immediately back down. But I would never confront her head on. However, if she just gave me a casual scolding, then I'd push my luck even further, determined to make Zhou Zimo too miserable to sleep. Lin Wanwan's eyes glinted as she stared at me, clearly seeing through the little scheme I had in mind. She let out a very soft chuckle. Mr. Mu, you talk a big game. I wonder who gave you the confidence to say that. So I can't speak unless I have confidence. This mouth is on my own face. I'll say whatever I want to say. What does that have to do with having confidence? My attitude was as arrogant as it gets. The kind that makes you want to grind your teeth in frustration. Indeed, what you want to say is your freedom. Zhou Zimo's eyes started to turn a little red. Glanced at me once before lowering his head. I let out a cold snort. With a face full of disdain, I mocked him loudly. Thank you, Mr. Zhou, for being so understanding. I hope you'll also be able to let it go if I say even nastier things next time we meet. Lin Wanwan, seeing Zhou Zimo's true colors, naturally wouldn't speak up for him anymore. She half closed her slender eyes, planning to just let it all play out. She focused on listening to the thoughts of the two men. Seeing that she didn't scold me after all this time, Zhou Zimo lifted his eyes to look at her. Lin Wanwan remained perfectly still. Zhou Zimo bit his lip hard and reached out to grab Lin Wanwan's arm. His face pale, he said softly, "Forget it. Sister Wanwan, Mu Chen is still young and doesn't know any better. It's normal for him to dislike me saying unpleasant things. She hasn't said a word, has she?" An intense feeling of disgust spread. Lin Wanwan's deep, dark eyes were filled with frost, like a 1,000-year-old glacier that would never melt. In Zhou Zimo's past memories, Lin Wanwan's gaze had always been gentle. When had she ever looked at him with such a cold expression? He stared with wide, unbelieving eyes, his face instantly turning frighteningly pale. Resentment and sorrow filled his eyes. "Wanwan, why are you looking at me like that? I'm not in a very good mood." Lin Wanwan averted her gaze from his face. "Both of you, just be quiet." "Wanwan," Zhou Zimo bit his lower lip. "Are you still angry with me? Angry that I went abroad and was gone for 5 years? And didn't even come back to see you in all that time? You're overthinking it. Wanwan was thrilled when you left. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to marry me. She was so passionate on our wedding night, I couldn't help but interject. I was being utterly detestable, deliberately interrupting just as Zhou Zimo was about to have a heart-to-heart. And with words designed to completely mess with his head. "So, you want to bare your soul to her? If I let you two have that talk today, then I'll eat my hat." Lin Wanwan found this a little amusing. The moment she chuckled, Zhou Zimo's heart sank completely. To comfort himself any further would just be self-deception. Lin Wanwan might have really had a change of heart. Otherwise, she'd never let me act so arrogantly in front of him. At the thought of losing his chance to marry into the Lin family, Zhou Zimo grew incredibly anxious. He unwillingly clenched his hands into fists and looked at Lin Wanwan, his face a mask of heartbreak. "Wanwan, is what he said true? I don't believe it, he must be lying, right?" Seeing him look so miserable, I can't even begin to describe how vindicated I felt. On the coffee table was a fresh fruit platter, filled with stemmed grapes. I reached out, grabbed a large handful, and started popping them into my mouth one by one. I looked completely smug, although I didn't know why this woman was being so cold to him. It was absolutely perfect for me. By the time this woman recovers and gets out of the hospital, I'll make sure Zhou Zimo worries himself sick and loses 20 pounds. I kept calling her, "this woman," in my head. Hearing this, a vein throbbed on Lin Wanwan's forehead. She didn't want to let me be so smug. She raised her eyes to Zhou Zimo and gave him her first smile since they'd met. Of course it's not true. I knew it. Zhou Zimo was instantly so overjoyed he began to cry. "Wanwan, I truly regret it. I never should have gone abroad back then. Otherwise, my own expression soured. Suddenly, the grapes in my mouth didn't taste sweet anymore. I threw the rest back onto the platter and stood up. I'm going to the restroom." So this was the man Lin Wanwan had loved for so many years. It's not the kind of love you can just turn off. I really don't get how, with a man like him who's so two-faced and has more schemes in his head than a dragon fruit has seeds, she ever fell in love with him in the first place. And to stay so blindly infatuated for so many years. With her taste in men, it's a miracle the Lin Corporation hasn't gone under. Mu Chen. Lin Wanwan's angry voice came from behind me. I stopped in my tracks. I turned back, completely bewildered. Zhou Zimo was also looking at her, just as confused. Lin Wanwan took several deep breaths, trying to suppress the fire of rage building inside her. But in the end, she failed. Use the one outside, Lin Wanwan yelled in a low voice. She couldn't let anyone know she could hear thoughts. So, losing her temper now would only make people think she was crazy. I was completely speechless. Is she getting angry at me on Zhou Zimo's behalf? Talk about a delayed reaction. It seems her brain must have been damaged in the accident. For the first time, Lin Wanwan felt that this mind-reading ability was absolutely horrible, enough to drive a person mad, unless she were a block of wood with no feelings. Otherwise, I'm going to get seriously ill from all this anger, I muttered to myself as I left the hospital room. It wasn't until I was far enough away that Lin Wanwan could no longer hear my inner thoughts. Only then did her tense brow slowly relax. Wanwan, in the 5 years I've been away from you, I've really missed you. With me, the troublemaker, out of the way, Zhou Zimo was planning to pour his heart out to her again. Lin Wanwan was in a foul mood and just gave a cold hum of acknowledgement. Living all alone after moving to a foreign country, I realized how much you used to protect me. I finally understood that only you can make me happy. Zhou Zimo pursed his lips, looking like he was hesitating to say something. Wanwan, are there feelings between you and Mu Chen? What kind of feelings are you referring to? Lin Wanwan shot him a sideways glance. Romantic love, of course. Two people have to be in love to get married, right? Only with love can you find happiness. At least half of what he said was wrong. He was saying that on purpose, trying to reawaken the Wanwan who once felt she couldn't live without him. Back then, Lin Wanwan was absolutely certain that she would be happy if she married him. It's true, I'm not in love with him, Lin Wanwan said, her expression completely placid. A look of joy instantly appeared on Zhou Zimo's face, and just as he was about to speak, Lin Wanwan's tone suddenly shifted. However, I'm quite interested in him now. In your eyes, does that count as a feeling? The moment she finished speaking, the color drained from Zhou Zimo's face. Realizing she might not love him was one thing, but hearing it with his own ears was something else entirely. Wanwan, are you serious? Zhou Zimo's voice was hoarse, as if his throat were filled with sand. It sounded incredibly raspy. The blow was devastating to him. The woman who had only ever had eyes for him was now saying, with her own mouth, that she was interested in another man. This was more painful than losing everything. Lin Wanwan gave a cold nod, completely shattered his last hope. He wished so badly that he had misheard, or that Lin Wanwan was just saying it to make him angry. But sadly, that wasn't the case. Lin Wanwan was being completely serious. Why? Zhou Zimo tightly gripped the decoration on his bag. You're not. Are you trying to say that I'm not deeply in love with you anymore? Lin Wanwan cut him off mercilessly. The mockery in her eyes was unmistakable. But you've been rejecting my love this entire time. Does it even matter if I love you or not anymore? I'm interested in Mu Chen. It shouldn't matter to you, either. So why are you asking this? Isn't it strange? I just didn't want you to get me so easily. I wanted to make you feel like my marrying you was something you had to work hard and beg for. That way, you would learn to cherish me and always keep your attention on me. Only then could I finally hold my head high in front of you and the Lin family. But I never expected that your love for me was so shallow. I went abroad to build up my prestige and came back, only to find you're interested in another man. One wrong move and I've lost the entire game. Zhou Zimo took a deep breath. He forcefully yanked the tassel off his bag, struggling to calm himself down. Can I say I regret it now? Lin Wanwan's eyes were deep and icy. Hearing Zhou Zimo's inner thoughts left her with nothing but profound disgust for him. To think he had been trying to control her all along. The sheer nerve and ambition of it all. Those inner thoughts I had on my way to the restroom were harsh, but they were absolutely right. She's terrible at judging men. I know that now. Lin Wanwan's reaction was as calm as still water. It was something she had always longed for before. But now that she could have it with just a beckon of her finger, she wasn't moved in the slightest. Your regret is your own problem, but I'm married now. So, I'm truly sorry. This was just short of spelling out that there was no chance for them. Seeing his years of scheming go down the drain, Zhou Zimo's emotions instantly shattered. Lin Wanwan, you're so heartless. His face was instantly covered in tears. Seeing a grown man cry like that would make anyone feel sympathy. But once Lin Wanwan despised someone, it didn't matter how handsome or charming he was. He couldn't stir the slightest ripple in her heart. She didn't respond. It was hard to tell if she didn't want to respond, or if she simply couldn't be bothered. But either way, her silence was undoubtedly driving him to the brink. It made him break down even further. You were so deeply in love with me before. Why don't you love me anymore? Zhou Zimo asked, wiping away his tears as he cried. His accusing tone was like that of a wronged child. You're such a liar. You promised you would wait for me forever. Lin Wanwan remained completely unmoved. She glanced at the clock on the wall. He's been in the bathroom for 15 minutes already. Did that man of mine secretly run off? Lin Wanwan's expression turned a little dark. If that man dares to run away, she won't be showing any mercy. You know I'm slow to warm up to people. Besides, I was too young back then. I was still so clueless about love, but now I'm absolutely certain. I love you, too. I fell in love with you a long time ago without even realizing it. Joe Zamo was completely oblivious to the fact she wasn't listening, pouring his heart out with such earnestness. I was taking my time coming out of the restroom since I had to answer a phone call. That's why I was a bit slow coming back. As I reached the door to her room, I heard a man's suppressed sobs from inside. With a sly grin, I pushed the door open and said, "Mr. Joe, please don't cry in front of my wife's hospital bed. Anyone who didn't know better would think she'd passed away." Joe Zemo's sobs stopped abruptly. He turned his head and glared at me, his face filled with resentment. It must be this ungrateful bastard. He must have used some dirty, underhanded tricks to bewitch my dear Wanwan's mind. He must have been badmouthing me behind my back. Otherwise, after my dear Wanwan loved me for so many years, how could she just stop loving me all of a sudden? She definitely still has feelings for me. I absolutely have a chance to turn this around. I can't let all my years of effort go to waste. Joe Zemo's inner monologue grated on Lin Wanwan's nerves, filling her with a deep sense of fury. Her love for him had all been part of his calculations. For all these years, he had her wrapped around his little finger. For a woman as proud as she was, this was the ultimate humiliation. "Don't look at me like that. You're scaring me. I don't know what happened between you two in the 15 minutes I was gone. But based on how things look right now, the two of them definitely had a falling out. If I'm not going to stir up some trouble now, then when? Honey, he's scaring me to death." I quickly ran to the side of her bed, crouched down, and rested my chin on the edge of the mattress. I looked up at Lin Wanwan pitifully. The way he's looking at me, it's like he wants to eat me alive. I mean, there's no need for all this, right? What's he so angry about? It's really getting on my nerves. Lin Wanwan shifted her gaze to look at me. Corner of her mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. Given my incredibly punchable personality, were you sure what she did to me in our last life? Lin Wanwan still didn't quite understand at this moment. But once you truly fall in love with someone, it's like exposing your weak spot to them. If one day the person you love wants to hurt you, you're the one who hands them the knife. If you weren't so deeply in love, who would so easily give someone the chance to hurt you? Miu Chen, you better stop right there. The anger in Joe Zemo's heart rushed to his head as he pointed at my nose, absolutely furious. You're just doing this on purpose to piss me off. How am I pissing you off? Don't you go around wrongly accusing a good person. Everything I've said is the honest truth. You clearly know what's between me and Sister Wanwan. What do I know? Cut him off without a hint of politeness and playfully stuck out my tongue. I just turned 20 this year. You and Sister Wanwan are both 26. Back when you two were getting close, I hadn't even graduated from middle school yet. How could I know what's between you two, big brother Joe? I know you like Sister Wanwan, and Sister Wanwan used to like you too. But we're married now, you know. However, it's okay if you two want to be together. After all, if she can accept me seeing other people, I can't seem too petty, can I? I'll allow you to meet up occasionally and whatnot. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Sister Wanwan, are you hearing the things he's saying? To think that you're interested in this kind of man. I really can't believe it. Joe Zemo roared angrily. I'm only 20, not some 26-year-old geezer. I can only be considered a boy, not some mature man, or uncle, I retorted with a grin. This feels so satisfying, making you so mad your whole body aches. Whether Joe Zemo was so angry that his whole body ached was still unknown for now. He was definitely furious right now. His body swayed slightly a couple of times. He squeezed two words through his gritted teeth. Miu Chen. What's wrong, uncle? Oh, my mistake. I mean big brother Joe. Why are you calling my name so excitedly? I blinked my big, innocent eyes, putting on a pure and harmless expression. Compared to his enraged state, this appearance of mine was definitely more likable. Even Joe Zemo himself thought so. He realized he must look incredibly unsightly right now and took several deep breaths. Only then did he manage to adjust his expression, before staring at me with unfriendly eyes to ask, Miu Chen, you really like to play the victim, don't you? Play the victim? I tilted my head with a look of confusion. Big brother Joe, what does play the victim mean? I don't really get it. Joe Zemo let out a cold laugh. He lowered his gaze to look at Lin Wanwan. Sister Wanwan, he says he doesn't understand this term, but you should understand it very well, right? Lin Wanwan's profound family background, as well as her one-in-a-million delicate and beautiful face, destined her to always be surrounded by men. However, in the past, his was the only face her eyes saw. She always gave a cold shoulder to men who actively pursued her, but there had indeed been an exception. During Lin Wanwan's high school years, a boy in her class was very skillful with his methods. He actually managed to gain a bit of her appreciation. After Joe Zemo found out, he approached that boy, and discovered that the other party was a typical manipulative man. And so, he directly explained the situation to Lin Wanwan, explaining in detail what a manipulative man was. Lin Wanwan had always listened to him, and ever since then, she had hated this sort of thing. So, this was his most powerful counterattack at the moment. Unfortunately, the Lin Wanwan of today was no longer the obedient girl she once was. The Lin Wanwan who did everything to please him. Lin Wanwan shot me a faint glance, then looked at Zhou Zimo and retorted, "Was I?" Zhou Zimo's body jolted, and his expression became extremely ugly and unnatural. "Brother Zimo, I was just kidding with you earlier. Of course I know what that means. But I wasn't playing pitiful. I was playing cute." I tapped my chin with my index finger. A very charming smile on my face. Playing cute for a woman who likes me. She'll definitely like me even more. Why wouldn't I do something with such a great payoff? Wanwan doesn't like you at all. Zhou Zimo roared furiously. Of course I know Lin Wanwan doesn't like me. So even though they were having a fight now, and Lin Wanwan was giving Zhou Zimo the cold shoulder, I wasn't going to bet on her playing along with me to spite him. After all, losing that bet would be quite embarrassing. Therefore, my mind raced and I came up with an unassailable line. "I'm a rather thick-skinned person. Even if your dear Wanwan doesn't like me, I'll just act as if she does. I'm an absolute genius. Brother Zimo, although you're getting a bit old now, and acting cute doesn't really look that cute on you, you've got no other choice. To win my wife's affection, you'd better give it a try. My wife might not say anything, but deep down, she probably loves it." My words were as nasty as they could be, as infuriating as they could be. Calling her, my wife, over and over again was driving him mad with rage. If it were anyone with a bit less self-control, they would have already exploded with curses by now. But Zhou Zimo was, after all, a calculating man. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made Wanwan fall in love with him. So he knew that in the current situation, it was impossible to turn the tables. His hand, which was gripping his bag tightly, loosened slightly. He forced an ugly smile. "Mu Chen, you're still too young and inexperienced. A man's charm isn't just about being cute. But don't worry, I will prove to you. What kind of man is most suitable for her?" I shrugged nonchalantly. My attitude was more infuriating than anything I could have said. He looked as if he'd go crazy if he stayed a moment longer. He turned to Lin Wanwan, his face pale, and said, "Wanwan, I'm not feeling well, so I'll be leaving now. I'll come see you again tomorrow." As his words fell, he received no response from her. In the past, whenever he said he felt unwell, Lin Wanwan would become extremely anxious, treating him like a fragile baby. Even during the 5 years he was abroad, whenever he was sick, she would arrange for someone to take him to the hospital. She took care of his every need. But now, she was completely indifferent. What could this be, if not that her love was gone? Zhou Zimo's eyes reddened, unwilling to let his dignity be completely trampled into the dust. He turned and left without another word. He was so resentful. Could it be that after all these years of effort, I still can't marry into the Lin family? I'm just so unwilling. This can't be happening. I absolutely cannot give up this easily. With my background, if I want to marry a woman from a prominent family, this is so damn hard. Lin Wanwan is my only hope. As long as there's a sliver of hope, I have to take it. Otherwise, I'm doomed to be a low-status person forever. Lin Wanwan lowered her gaze, listening to his inner thoughts, a hint of deep scorn flashing in her eyes. He wants to marry her to change his lowly status. That has been his one and only goal from the very beginning. A pity her sincere heart was betrayed, a mistake that has lasted for so many long years. It's getting late, I should be heading back. I have class at school tomorrow. Zhou Zimo has already left. There's no need for me to pretend to be cute anymore. My sharp features return to a cold, icy expression. With a face that changes that fast, it's a pity you're not in the opera. A clear smirk formed on Lin Wanwan's lips. She seemed to be in a very good mood. The reason she fell in love with Zhou Zimo back then was first because Zhou Zimo was indeed smooth, and second, because he happened to be her type. And I, on the other hand, am his complete opposite. But for some reason, the more she looks at me now, the more she likes what she sees. She even finds the way I get on her nerves to be cute. Lin Wanwan thought she must be going crazy. Could it be because of my tragic inner thoughts? Is it because she knows I once loved her deeply? She couldn't figure it out herself. She only knew that before she could figure out what I had been through, she couldn't possibly let me leave her side. "If you dare to listen, I'll dare to sing," I replied with a deadpan expression. "Dare I? My appearance fee is 30 million per show." Lin Wanwan couldn't help but burst out laughing. "You've got some nerve, making such an outrageous demand. You dared to listen, so what's there for me to not dare to ask for?" I stood up, planning to dust myself off and leave. "Well, have the caregiver take good care of you tonight." "No." Lin Wanwan disagreed, not because she couldn't bear for me to leave, but because she was afraid I'd go drag someone else over from the psychiatric ward. Recalling that crazy man from this afternoon, her mood was still a bit sour. My brow twitched slightly, just as I was about to say something to intimidate her, when Xiujun walked in from outside. I cursed internally at how frustrating today was. I had just sent Zhou Zimo off, and now when Xiujun shows up. Even a fighter like me can't keep fighting this late at night. Seeing the school bag in my hand as I prepared to leave, Wen Xiujun questioned me with a hostile look on her face. Are you preparing to leave? I nodded with a cold expression. It's too late. If I don't go back, my mom will worry. Oh, give me a break. Wen Xiujun's face was full of scorn. That stepmother of yours would worry about you? She's probably wishing you'd never come back, so no one would have to compete with her own son for the family inheritance. If you don't know how to talk, then just be quiet. The Lin family is huge and wealthy. They can certainly spare it. I couldn't be bothered to bicker with her here. After saying that, I slung my bag over my shoulder and walked straight out. This time, Wen Xiujun had learned her lesson. She didn't reach out to stop me. After I walked out of the hospital room, Wen Xiujun quickly walked to the bedside and placed the insulated lunchbox on the nightstand. Daughter, Mom made you some chicken soup with my own hands. This car accident has really taken a toll on you. You must nourish your body properly to recover. Have a few more bowls in a little while. Lin Wanwan nodded with an indifferent expression. She didn't say a word. As Wen Xiujun poured the chicken soup into a bowl, she secretly observed her expression. After she finished pouring, she said, as if casually, I ran into Zemo downstairs just now. I saw that his eyes were all red. Did you two have a fight? No. Then why was he? I know what you're trying to find out. Lin Wanwan cut Wen Xiujun off, her gaze perfectly calm. I've said it before, no one decides my marriage except for Grandpa Lin. And when it comes to my personal life, no one has the right to interfere or make decisions. Her gaze grew sharper as she spoke, and Wen Xiujun was at a loss for words. She wanted to say something but didn't dare, so in the end, she could only let out a helpless sigh. After that, she fed Lin Wanwan 2 bowls of chicken soup, then packed her things and left. Xu Jiaqi was standing right outside the door. Wen Xiujun walked past her. Then she stepped back, her eyes filled with scrutiny as she looked at her. Assistant Xu, you've been standing out here this whole time? Then do you know that Zemo was in there? What happened between the three of them? Wen Xiujun leaned close to Xu Jiaqi and asked in a low voice. Xu Jiaqi's eyes flickered slightly as she gently shook her head. President Lin instructed me to stay a bit further from the room when others are present. So I don't know anything. Wen Xiujun clicked her tongue, displeased. Her expression wasn't very pleasant, but Xu Jiaqi was Wanwan's person, after all. He didn't dare show too much of an attitude and could only turn and leave in a huff. I left the hospital and went straight home. Chu Huilin was sitting on the sofa in the living room. She was watching TV with a face mask on and turned her head when she heard the door open. Seeing it was me who had returned, she peeled off the mask she had just put on. Why are you back so late at night? Over there, it's just me and the housekeeper. I was scared staying on the second floor by myself. I put the key on the shoe cabinet in the entryway. I walked into the living room and sat down beside her. Besides, that place is nowhere near as comfortable as home. Chu Huilin shot me a sidelong glance and let out a cold snort. Even if you married into her family just to divorce Lin Wanwan, you can't come running home 2 days after the wedding. If people find out, who knows what they'll say about you. I couldn't care less what other people say about me. I grabbed a grape from the fruit bowl, tossed it in my mouth, and leaned back on the sofa contentedly. Even if no woman ever wants me in the future, I couldn't care less. Spending my whole life with you guys is exactly what I want. Stop spouting such nonsense. Chu Huilin glared at me in annoyance. Say one more word and I'll kick you out of this house. And let you fend for yourself out there. I just smiled nonchalantly. Would you have the heart to kick me out? You're not the one who carried me for 10 months. Why wouldn't I? If this had been before my rebirth, I definitely would have been very upset hearing that and resented her even more for it. But now, I don't feel that way at all. I swallowed the sweet grape in my mouth. I stood up from the soft sofa. You knew I would be back tonight. Otherwise, there wouldn't be grapes on the coffee table. Mom, you never say what you really mean. You're going to get yourself in big trouble for that one day. Chu Huilin let out a soft scoff. My biggest loss was not sending you away sooner. What a waste of all our family's food. I let out a chuckle. I plan on freeloading for many more years to come. So you'll just have to be upset and put up with it. As soon as I finished speaking, I happily scurried upstairs. Mu Chen, when are you moving your things back? Chu Huilin stood up and yelled after me. I paused on my way up the stairs and looked back down. I'm planning to move them tomorrow. Can you call a moving company for me? Did I owe you something in a past life? Chu Huilin yelled in exasperation. Knowing she would definitely help me get in touch, I went upstairs with a wide grin on my face. Back in my warm and cozy room after so long, I took a deep breath. The scent of lavender filled my nostrils, allowing my tense nerves to relax. In my past life, I rarely came back after I got married, but my room was always clean whenever I did. It was always filled with the scent of lavender, even if I hadn't been back for a long time. She would clean my room regularly. It's a shame I was so clueless in my past life. I noticed it but never stopped to think about why. I let out a soft sigh. I walked over to the large wardrobe and reached out to open its doors. Inside, a clean set of pajamas was neatly placed. I smiled to myself.